And this isn't a what if this happens to everyone. This is a what if this happens to you. And all this time, your family has been lying to you. What if stars are cameras from aliens and we are a zoo or an experiment? I believe it. Hands down.
You believe all of them.
I don't believe all of them. That's a lie.
See, I believe in aliens, but I believe, like, even if we do find them, I doubt they'll be humanoid. Like, they're not going to look like us at all. And if they do have sentient thought, we probably still won't be able to communicate with them.
I also love the theory that there are aliens, but they've just been hiding from us because they realize that we can't get our own shit together and they don't want to deal with us.
I mean, like, this is pretty easily disproven, right? Because physics exists.
Well, yeah, obviously.
But,
obviously.
But, like, but if physics didn't exist and this was 1,000 years ago, maybe. Maybe.
There was a legitimate theory back in, like, the 1100s. They believed that the Earth was flat and that there was a dome above it, and that the stars were little bits of heaven poking through. And I think it's funny because, like, they believed it wholeheartedly, and they're like, no, this is how the world is. But now I can't help but wonder, like, how many things we believe now, and in, like, 1,000 years they'll be like, oh, that's cute, they didn't know they could fly. It's my favorite conspiracy theory. It's not even a conspiracy theory. I 100% believe that humans are capable of more than we think we are, but because subconsciously we don't believe that we can do it, we aren't able to.
The power of will.
But I mean, like, I use the example, like, right now, you're trying to move that with your mind, but, like, you're not actually trying because you don't actually think that you can do it.
But there are people who do believe they can do it, and they do try, and they still don't succeed.
But there was this one guy who he had trained in Qi Gong, which is the martial art that allows you to, like, manipulate the energy in your body and whatnot. And so they did an experiment. They had a spear, and he pressed the spear to his neck and, like, pushed forward, and, like, they broke a board over his back, and, like, there was a scratch on his neck, but, like, that should have killed him. And I'm just like, how?
See, but I also heard about a guy who thought he had a body of steel, and so he asked his friend to stab him, and then his friend did, and he believed that he would not be hurt, and then he died.
But then you hear about the stories about people who, like, you know, in moments where the adrenaline is pumping through their body, like, they lift cars off of people and allow them to escape. And those are things that we can't normally do.
So you think that there would be a way to access that in case you weren't in mortal danger?
Yes. Because it makes sense. If you can access that ability when you're in mortal danger.
I doubt I could lift a car if I was in mortal danger. You seen my noodle arms?
But I mean, like, I'm a pretty strong person.
Yeah.
If you were under a car, I think I could find the strength to lift it off of you. Unless I started thinking about, like, oh god, am I going to be able to do it? I'm not so sure. I'm not sure if I'm strong enough. I feel like a lot of it is subconscious. Like, I feel like we do all sorts of stuff without thinking about it, but the moment we think about it, it shuts down. Because consciously, we don't think that we can do these things.
Yeah, maybe.
What if oxygen is actually poisonous and it takes 70 to 100 years to affect us?
Well, it used to take 20 years, so...
Is this why antioxidants are a thing? Because it reduces the effect that oxygen has on your body?
No, move on.
What if there are really aliens disguised as humans and they're spying on us, plotting the perfect time to strike? This will come as zero surprise to you that I totally think this is valid. Like, aliens could be disguised as literally anything.
Squirrels.
Like, Maya could be an alien.
Yeah.
And she's just waiting for the perfect time to strike.
Isn't there a thing where the alien is hiding inside of a dog or something? No, wait, I'm thinking of Harry Potter.
Next, what if the static we hear in our ears sometimes are ghosts trying to communicate with us?
I mean, maybe.
See, here's the thing. When ghosts communicate with me, they communicate with words. So...
Sorry.
Not even a joke.
I believe you.
For real, though.
I know that I don't, but I believe you.
But like, my mom's psychic, my grandma's psychic.
Yeah.
Like, my grandma's from New Orleans. I don't know what happens down in New Orleans, but it passes down the generations. And also, that was my mom's theory for why my walkie continually died during polar. She's like, well, ghosts do try to communicate through radios, and if you're trying to talk to you, it makes sense that you can't keep a walkie alive. And at one point, I literally like had a moment, and I was just like thinking to myself, I'm like, can you please stop talking to me for like the duration of the show so I can stop killing batteries? And the response I heard was, well, you don't listen to us any other time. And I'm like, damn it, you're not wrong. But also, like, I have a job to do, and I can't spend time hosting seances on the Polar Express. Like, I can't do that. Alright, next. What if we used to live in a whole other life where so many things were possible, but we all died, and now we live here on Earth when we dream as glimpses of our past life?
Man, my past life is real weird. There are raccoon spaceships and giant buildings where children fight to the death and many other things in my past life, apparently.
You win. You win.
That wasn't even
And
the tip of the iceberg.
so what I'm gonna have to ask of you is that you send me all of your dreams so I can actually write something for a change. I need to write. But
Right.
a big issue with me in writing is, again, I'm a conspiracy theorist. And literally every time I start writing a story, I'm like, but what if this is true? And this is the universe trying to tell me that I need to look into this and investigate. Literally every time. I need to be like, hey Juliana, I have this theory and I want you to tell me if you think it's valid or if I should just shut up and write it.
The answer is gonna be shut up and write.
I know, but also if I run any idea by you, you'll be like, that doesn't make sense. Like no matter what it is, you're like, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, okay, why doesn't it make sense? And you're like, because this doesn't make sense. And how about this? And this is like, why is this? Like, why are they evil? And I don't understand his motivation. I want like you, Super Carlin Brothers, and Matt Pat to sit down with all of my story ideas and just like break them apart. So like it'll be good in the end. Alright, last one. What if you share a body with another person and they take over while you sleep?
And that's what you're remembering. Because then I have the same argument with the dream thing.
See, that's not what I thought. I was thinking like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing.
Oh, yeah.
And that like...
Well, people sleepwalk.
True.
Also, there's evidence that your body stays in your bed.
But
There
no.
are other people.
I don't think you understand, Juliana. This isn't a what if this happens to everyone. This is a what if this happens to you. And all this time, your family has been lying to you about you being asleep in your
I
bed.
see. What happens when you sleep with other people? Or in the same room with other people?
They're all in on this.
They're all in on the
They're
secret?
all in on it.
What if everybody's in on it?
Which is how conspiracies work, is that all the people who are
Everybody
involved
but you.
are in on it, except
Okay.
for you. Anyway, if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any ideas for future videos, please comment them down below. Also, if you have any actual conspiracy theories,
Really?
please send them our way. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again in the next video. Bye.